there was a body called the National Training Board, the NTB, that was established in 1988, and it was given the role of facilitating the implementation of competency-based training. And this is the way that the National Training Board defined competency-based training. According to this definition, the focus shifts from what the teacher does to what the learner can achieve, what the learner can do as a result of the training process. And it's very much focused on the workplace. Now, compare that a little with this next definition. Now, this is their 1992 definition, very much skill-based, to the standard of performance required in employment. So this is about employment, and it's about standards of performance. Now, this is DEST in 2007. So central to competency-based training is competency standards. And so if you look at the definition of competency standard, there are a number of characteristics of competency standards. One, they're industry determined. They're a specification of performance. They do include the notions of skills, knowledge and attitudes. And they're about employment. The next bit basically says that competency standards are made up of units of competence and elements and variables and evidence guides. And this is the notion of breaking the unit of competence down into smaller and smaller components. If we just take that one step further and say, well, what do DEST see as the nature of competence? They talk about competence as having these 5 characteristics. That competence is not just the ability to do a particular job, but there are a set of task skills. These are the practical skills that one needs in order to be able to do a particular job. They also talk about the notion of task management skills, being able to manage a number of tasks at one time. The notion of contingency skills. What do you do when things aren't going the way they should be? Something is slightly different here. Materials I've got to work with are not exactly the same materials as I had last time. Or that particular box that I'm trying to fix is a slightly different model. The fourth part is about being able to apply these skills in a workplace environment. So to come back to educational theory, it's so, well, which sort of conception of competency does this definition privilege? Behaviourist views characterised by the notions of conditioning, and the behaviourist approach has at its core the notion of predictability and control. One of the main criticisms of competency-based training has been that it is based on this behaviourist model. And some people will argue that it doesn't matter what you do with competency-based training in its current form, it still will embed the assumptions, and therefore competency-based training, it's programmed learning. Some people will call it mastery learning. And what those people argue is that that's all very fine if you basically want automatons, people that automatically respond in certain ways, provided that the job you require them to do is always exactly the same. And the reality is that that's not actually the case. Now, my question to you who are practitioners using competency-based training is that the form in which you actually engage in teaching and learning of a competency-based nature?